Stuck in a rut? Find your way out at motionvfx.com. Dive into thousands of creativity-boosting assets for Final Cut Pro and DaVinci Resolve. Whether you're crafting cinematic wonders, engaging YouTube content, or stunning music videos, we've got tools to elevate your editing with an intuitive drag-and-drop workflow. Reclaim your time and create further with motionvfx.com.
Oh, is that it? Oh. Oh boy, everybody! Hi! Wow! This is so cool! I get to intro the last one of ResolveCon! Hey! I hope you're all having such a good time! If you don't know me, my name's Billy! And I'm from Nodeland! Anyway, I just want to say thank you on behalf of everyone here for showing up! First of all, we gotta say thanks to our wonderful sponsors. We got Blackmagic Design, DV Resolve, Action VFX, Motion VFX, No Scope, Logic Keyboards, and Wipp Templates. Wow, you guys, this is so great. I'm having such a good time. Hey, I'm learning so much stuff, and I'm from Nodeland. Wow. Anyway, hey, good thing you're here for the last one because we got some cool stuff to give away. We got, dude, don't get into the giveaways. You got to click the description down there in the link in the description if you want the cool stuff. Do you want to know what cool stuff we're going to give away? Hey, we got another micro panel. Ooh, we got motion VFX voucher. Ooh, we got an action VFX voucher. Ooh, we got another Wipp templates bundle. Ooh, and guess what? The big one. We got a Pixis camera. That's right, a new Pixis camera from Blackmagic. Wow! Okay, and don't forget, if you want to follow along with any of the cool stuff that's going to show up, download the media. You can get it in the description. Make sure to do that post-haste if you haven't already. Anyway, I want to intro probably my bestest pal. He loves me so much, and I love him so much. The guy who's running this whole dang show, his name is Casey First. Let's bring him on in! Bring him on in! Yay! Casey! Oh, boy.
Thanks, Bimmy. Thanks. Yeah. That was pretty awful.
Okay.
Yeah. I could you maybe do you have anything else going on? Do you have
I got laundry I gotta do. So
maybe just go for it. Maybe. Oh my gosh, what have we done? Hey everybody. Hey everybody, welcome back to the last session of ResolveCon. I'm so excited to share some epic cinematic titles with you. I won't hate on Bimmy. He's a nice guy, but you know, it's just, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot. You guys, this has been so much fun, and I'm so excited to share some really cool fusion stuff with you. Let's get into it, shall we? Here's what we're going to be making today. Epic justice. Very nice. So yeah, we got a few things going on here. We have some red and blue lighting kind of coming in here. Looks like kind of police lights and some fog and some all kinds of 3D stuff. And yeah, I'm excited to get into this. So if you don't know how to make this, well, heck on a pancake. You're gonna learn how to do it right now. Okay. All right. Let's do it. I'm gonna just go ahead and just get rid of this here. Let's go ahead and we're just gonna go into Fusion, and I just have a blank Fusion composition here. So this is just a black background. I've just drag a black background, connect it to the media out. So far, things are going swimmingly. So kind of like what we were talking about with Cullen earlier, I really like to do things in passes. And so what that means is that you basically do the biggest tasks that you have to do, the biggest impact tasks first, and you do it for kind of the whole project, so that, you know, if you have to stop halfway through or something, that at least you have kind of the bare minimum done. All right. So that's what we're going to start with. That's what I like to start with anytime I make any kind of title. And so, I mean, I guess we could just take some text and put that in if we want to. And so we could just call this Epic Justice. All right. So I'm thinking like this is like a the titles to kind of a crime drama show, you know. But I mean, right now, if we put this in front of our show, I mean, everybody's going to know what it is. It's going to be pretty obvious what's going on. Does it look great? No, but it's functional. Okay. So we always go for functional, but we can take it one step further than that. I think we have like 5 minutes to be able to do this. So we're going to start with some 3D text. Now, if you haven't used 3D stuff in Fusion, or especially if you haven't used 3D at all, it can be a little bit overwhelming. We're going to try and take it slow here. But we're going to start out with 3D text. I'm just dragging it from this thing right here. And let's just drag this up here into the left viewer. And let's type our text. We're going to call this Epic Justice. Epic Justice. Oh, actually, I want that capitalized. Epic Justice. Okay, doing great so far. So far, we've put text onto the screen, and this is the best. This is the best ever. So here's our text, and once you put 3D text in and you drag it to a viewer, then it's probably going to look something like this. We have text just floating in 3D, and it is paper thin. Okay, so it is in 3D space, but it's just like I had 2D text and it was just kind of floating on a piece of glass. So what we want with 3D text is actually to have a little bit of thickness there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to extrusion here in our text 3D nodes here in the inspector and twirl that down. And here we have a couple of controls. The first one would be extrusion depth. So as I push this up, look what happens over here. Okay, keep your eyes on this part of the screen while we do this. So if I push this up, you see this kind of grows, and it almost looks 3D, but it's sort of like a 3D silhouette kind of. And the reason for that is because we don't have lighting enabled in our viewer. And if we go all the way up here to this little thing right there, this little gray spot, if we go down here, we can select lights. Now, this lets us kind of preview our lights. It gives us sort of a generic lighting thing, like a kind of a generic lighting setup, so we can at least see the form of things. That's kind of what makes things look 3D, is that differentiation of lighting and shadow and everything across surfaces. So now we have this 3D text. That's great. Again, we're going to try and just keep it as simple as we can. We'll need a way to render this text so that we can actually put it over our 2D background here. Because if you notice, if I take the output of this text and I try and merge it, it don't work none. It don't work good. So here's what we got to do. We got to have some kind of renderer. And normally you could just take like this renderer 3D, plug this into renderer 3D, and plug that in like this. And then we see at least some version of this text. I'm actually not going to use renderer 3D because I want to bring this into the USD system. Bernd talked a lot about the USD system earlier today. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with USD. Overall, just kind of the shading and textures and lighting tends to look a little better, at least in my opinion, when it comes to the USD stuff. So we're going to use a USD renderer instead of the normal 3D renderer. So I'll hit Shift Spacebar. That'll brings up our Select Tool panel here, and we'll just say URen. That's going to bring up URenderer, and I'll add that. And because the text isn't actually a USD shape, we're going to have to do a little bit of trickery to bring this into the URenderer. So I'm going to actually have to add a UMerge like this. We can bring it into the UMerge, and then the UMerge goes into the URenderer. The URenderer goes into the merge one, and look at that, epic justice. We've did it. We did a whole bunch of work just to put kind of gray text on the screen. It's looking good. So good. well, let's at least mess with the font. Okay. Let's at least get a better font than this. So this text 3D one, I'm going to go and here where it says font, let's pick a font called Santello Regular. Now, you probably don't have this on your system unless you magically already downloaded it. That would be interesting. But I do have a link to that in the work files and the media that that is linked. But it's just a free font from dafont.com. We have Epic Justice here. So let's go ahead. And the one thing that I'll do that I'll change here is I'm going to push the tracking up. So the tracking is kind of like the space in between the letters. And usually if you're going to do an epic title, a quick little hack is just to make the tracking wider. The wider something is, the more epic it is. Y'all people don't believe me. Adam Driver. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, because it's the, okay, I thought it was pretty funny. So let's take this text. And the one thing I do want to do is I want to, it's a little bit like from here to here and from here to here. These are different sizes. So I want to kind of center this. And so let's take the text and, here in our 3D transforms, that's the fifth little icon over here. Let's take this the Y translation, and we can move that up and down. So in 3D, there's X, Y, and Z. In Fusion, X is back and forth, Y is up and down, and Z is kind of away from camera, right? So Y is up and down. So I'm just going to kind of push that down like this. And there we go. It's a little bit more in the middle. I think I'll actually push that tracking up a little more. Epic Justice, baby. All right. So this is looking pretty good, but it doesn't really look that 3D. I mean, you can sort of tell it, but we want it to like be obvious that these are epic 3D letters that are made out of metal, you know, and that are beautiful. So there's a few things we can do to change that. The first one is we can bevel this. Now, if you're not familiar with what beveling is, let's just take a good old look here. Okay. So here on the edges of our letters, we'll see that these are extruded letters, but the actual edges of them, they're sharp, right? So all of these edges are really, really sharp, which isn't the most realistic thing. Almost nothing in nature is like perfectly sharp other than like the edge of a knife. And so we don't want these knife sharp. We want them to kind of be curved a little bit, or at least have a little surface in between. So if we go to our text 3D, we can go to extrusion, and I can just push this bevel depth and width up a little bit. And look at this right here. Oh, you can't quite see it. Hold on. I'll just, there we go. There. Bevel depth and bevel width. These boys right here. If I push that up, that's going to add a little bit of an edge here. So you see how there's this little kind of edge. That's going to make this just look a little nicer. The light is going to glint off of it and everything a little bit more beautifully. So there's our little bit of bevel. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to actually copy this text, and I'm going to hit Control C and then double click off and hit Control Shift V. What that's going to do is make an instance of the text. Now, this is really cool. If you don't know what an instance is, it's like a linked copy of whatever you just copied. So I have an instance copy of the text. And if I just bring this up here, let's bring this up here like this. Let's go ahead and look at both of them. I can take this copy up. Why can't we see both? Because it's not plugged in. I know how stuff works. All right. Oh, it's because it's instance. I get it. Okay, I'm tracking with my own stuff here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this instance text, and we're going to go over to transform, and we're going to de-instance this Y, or actually this Z translation here. So I'm going to right click on it, de-instance Z. And now if I push this back, look, I have two copies of this text. So that's pretty cool. And what's neat is all of the other stuff is linked. So if I say Epic Justice 1, that's going to update on both of these texts, right? Pretty cool. So what the heck are we using this for? Check this out. If I take this and I'll just reset that Z, we have these perfectly put over each other. But if I also go over to our bevels that we just had just a minute ago, I can de-instance. I'm just right-clicking and saying de-instance on bevel depth and bevel width. And look at this. I can push out the width a little bit, push out the depth a little bit, and that's just making that a little bit thicker. But now I can take this transform and push this back in Z, and look what we got. We have kind of a fancy little doubling of these letters, which if I change the color of one of these, let's just change it to like blue or something. Oh wait, that's not de-instance either. Oh goodness, no. Oh goodness. Actually, I'm going to do this a different way anyway. So it doesn't matter. We'll just keep that color gray. We'll be able to see this in just a second. Let's take this text, and I'm going to actually switch out the material that it's made out of. I'll hit Shift Spacebar and type you replace material. This is going to replace that text material with a USD material, which is actually going to work a little better with our lighting and all the stuff in the USD system. We're going to keep this one white for now. Actually, I might just make it kind of like a little bit darker, kind of bluish gray, something like that. And then this one, we're going to also replace material. I'll just copy and paste this. And we'll plug this in like this. And we'll make this a lot darker. There we go. We'll be able to see what the heck is going on here. So now we have this copy that's a little bit darker. And then we have our original, which is kind of this bluish gray. And look what we're making over here. Look at this. This kind of gives us, it's almost like a 3D outline to these letters because it's a little bit wider. It's a little bit more beveled outside. And so this is kind of just like a doubling of these letters. And when we add some lights to this, it's going to be all glinty and beautiful. It's going to be the best. Going to be the best. Okay. So what have we done so far? We have our text. We have it kind of doubled. Awesome. Our text just looks really kind of plain though right now. I mean, it's 3D, but it doesn't have that sparkle, you know? So what we need is some lighting. Generally, just like in real life, if you don't have fancy lighting going on, things just don't look that fancy. Y'all people don't believe me. Check this out. So here's my camera with decent lighting, and here it is without it. Like just like, oh, okay, here's the, you know, it's just not as great without the lighting, you know? So it makes kind of a big deal, especially this backlight. Yeah, makes it look nice. So we're going to kind of do the same thing, but with this text. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just grab some lights, and I'll just kind of show you what I made here. I'm going to grab just a dot setting file. I can just drag this in, and that will be a collection of nodes. Bet you didn't know you could do that actually, huh? So these are 4 different lights. The first one is a dome light, and all I have to do to add it to my scene is just plug this into the U-merge like this. And what that will do, if we go to U-renderer and make sure that our lighting says scene, bloop, is that is going to give us just a little bit of ambient light on stuff. So we'll just turn this off and on. This is actually a really big deal because when you turn on the scene lighting and you don't have any lights, guess what? It's black. But we turn on this dome light, and check this out. This dome light's really cool. If I go to U-renderer and turn on Enable Sky Dome, what this is doing is this is making a sphere, and it's putting a image inside of the sphere. It's mapping it to the sphere, and it's using that image to light our 3D stuff. This is a really common thing, especially when you're doing VFX and that kind of thing. But it's a really nice thing to add to your graphics because it just gives it like that little touch of realism. Now, ideally, you would want this HDR, this image to match the environment that you're building, even if you're building kind of 3D text like we're doing. But I'm going to kind of fudge that. It's still going to look pretty good. So I'm going to turn off the Enable Sky Dome, and this just gives us our general lighting. And let's add some more. I have these other lights here that I've already set up. The first one is a disk light. I can take this and push this into the U merge. And what this is, a disk light is, you can think about it like a normal light. It's just like a circle that emits light. And that, just like everything in 3D, has a location, and it has a rotation and scale and everything. And so what I've done is I made this light, you can kind of think of it like a big wide spotlight, and I've animated it to go from right to left across these letters. Okay. And so what this does is this adds a little glint. Look at that. That's a little shine. Next time you see any kind of 3D title, look for this, because I guarantee you they have some version of light just kind of going past it. It makes no sense. Why would there be a light going past it? It's just to make it shiny. There are a lot of things in design that's like, it looks cooler this way. It's okay. So we have that kind of glint going back and forth. It's looking pretty good. But like I was saying with the kicker light, right? The behind the subject light, we need a little bit of that. And what that's going to do is kind of pop the edges and make this come up from the background. Okay. So we're going to take our kicker light and let's just zoom this in so we can actually see what the heck is going on. I'm going to take our kicker light like this and plug this into UMerge like that. You see, we have that little edge there. Here's another one. Have that little edge there. So that makes a huge, huge difference. And it's so easy to do. All this is a light that it's a directional light that shoots from behind the subject just at an angle. Okay. So we have two of those lights. And now look at this difference. Oh, this is so much fun. It just, like, here's just the kick. What the kicker does, it just completely makes those edges look beautiful. There's this one, makes those edges look beautiful. That disc light gives us that little glint. And then the dome light is kind of the overall. See, that would be really dark without the dome light, right? But those all work together as a lighting system, just like you were lighting something in real life. You can light it in 3D. So we're just lighting our letters, and it's a good time. So now we have Epic Justice. And again, we are still at a point where if we need to render this out and somebody's like, all right, listen, Buster, listen, brother, we got to render this out and put it to air. You can be like, well, I got some dope looking letters. So that's really cool. Okay. I can hear Dan laughing in the other room. All right. So we have our epic looking letters. And he's cracking me up. Then, if this is going to be a justice show, we want the blue and red flashing lights, right? We want some police action here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some red and blue lights, believe it or not. So I'm going to hit Shift Spacebar and I'm going to make a light from scratch this time. And we're going to find the sphere light, SPH. That's going to bring up our U sphere light. Now, we're going to get kind of tricksy here. I need you guys to put your thinking caps on. All right. I need you to pay attention. If you're just munching on Cheetos, kind of halfway paying attention, you should all the way pay attention now and wait 2 minutes for Cheetos. All right. I don't know sometimes I get on rants and I don't even know what I'm doing. Okay. I'm going to bring up a UMerge tool. So this is just like the one that we have over here, but we're just going to kind of build this over here for a second. I'm going to take this U sphere and bring it into the UMerge. And let's look at just the merge. Here we have this little kind of point here in 3D space. When I have the U sphere light selected, that's the light. When I have the U merge selected, that's just kind of the center of the 3D world. Okay. So I'm going to take this U sphere light and I'm going to pull it up like this. I'm just pulling it up. So now, if I were to select the U merge, we can see the center of the 3D world and then the U sphere light just above it. Okay. That light above it, we're going to make a red light. So I'm going to hit F2 and say red light. I thought about calling this Roxanne, but I didn't know if anyone would get that joke. If you do get that joke, why don't you let me know? So we're going to turn this red, and I'm going to turn the intensity up a lot. So I'm going to call this 10 intensity. Okay. Nothing is happening now. We're just in imaginary land. But if I take this red light and this U merge, you'll see why we did the U merge here in a second. If I take the output and I plug this into the U merge here, look what's going on. We have that red light casting on those letters. I can turn that off and on to show you that difference. Just a little bit of a glint there. Okay, that's cool. But we're actually even going to have a little bit more here in a second. Let's make a blue light. So I'm going to copy this red light, Control C, double click off and hit Control V. And let's rename this before we get crazy. Blue light, and plug this into the U merge. So what we're doing essentially is we're kind of grouping these lights together with this U merge. So if I take this U merge here, we can see, and I select the U merge, we have the two lights which are up here kind of on top of each other, and then the center of the 3D world. I'm going to take the blue light and bring this down. So now we have the U merge in the center, the red light up here, and the blue light down here. Did I even make this blue? No. Let's make it blue. Okay, I'm actually going to make it cyan. I lied. I'm such a liar. Okay. So now here's what we have. We have a light, and then directly below it is the center of the 3D world, and then directly below that is another light. So the red light, center, blue light. Okay. Look what happens. I'll just kind of zoom out a little bit. Look what happens if I take this U merge and I go to transform and I move this around. That moves all three of them all at once. And look what's happening. Look what's happening over here. There's some fanciness happening over there when I move that. So there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do. You can kind of like build a group of lights, and then you can adjust them all at once, and it will affect things just with a whole big group of lights, which is really neat. So instead of translating this on X, I'm going to translate it on Z. I want to bring that closer to the camera. And let's go ahead and view this in the merge for everything. We'll see we have our text. And if I kind of pivot around here, I'm just holding Alt. We'll see that these lights are above and below the text, but they're kind of like right on top of it and right below it. So if I take this U merge and I pull this back like this, then these will be in front of it. And so now we see kind of this light happening, and it's hitting the front faces of it a little more. Okay. So now we have these kind of in front of the text. I might even pull this back a little more, something like that. And now what's cool is I can move this back and forth, and it kind of lights different parts of the text, just like we were doing with our little spotlight here, our disc light. But check this out. I can also rotate this on Z, and look what happens. I can rotate this, and these kind of orbit the center of that 3D world. Look at that. And then look what happens to our text while we do this. As they orbit that, it kind of flashes blue and red. So this is kind of a unique way to get sort of a flashing light rig without actually having to flash them on and off, without having to do a whole lot of keyframes. We're just kind of offsetting them in 3D space and then having them orbit a single point. Pretty crazy, right? Now, just for the sake of time, I think I'll just animate this, but it'd probably be a good idea to do a, you know what? No, we ain't going to do that. We got to keep things right here. We're going to do a U transform, and we're going to plug this in just so it's real clear that we are transforming this. So I'm going to take this transform and move it back here like this. And we're going to, instead of just keyframing a rotation on Z, I'm going to do a little quick maths here. I'm going to select this Z rotation right here, and I'm going to type equals time times 5. And what that's going to do is that's going to put in the whatever frame I'm on times 5 in here for the Z rotation. And look what happens when I play this back. It rotates by itself without any keyframes. Say, what? That's crazy, Casey. I couldn't even believe you did that. Oh, it's all right. You know, it's going to be okay. And what's cool is I can always go back to this U merge, and I can offset these more if I want to, and it still works. And now we have kind of this red and blue rotation happening. Let's take this U transform, and let's actually, here, I'll take a look at it in the big merge. Let's take this U transform, and we're going to move this on the X axis, and I'm going to start it over here at the beginning, right here on the left side of our text. And I'll set a keyframe here for X translation. And then at the end, we're going to move this all the way to the other side, kind of like the opposite of what our disc light is doing. Okay. So now as we play this back, we have two lights moving. We have the disc light moving right to left, and then we have our red and blue lights rotating around a center point that's moving from left to right. Woo! Okay, this is the intense 3D stuff, guys. Actually, it's not. There's more. I was like, it's about to get better. It's not. It's going to get so much worse. No, it won't be that bad. It'll be okay. So now we have this kind of blue and red lighting on our text, and it's pretty cool. It kind of looks like a cop car is driving by. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're getting. That's where we're going. Okay. Let's make this even more epic, because so far we have really great looking text on a plain black background that's kind of boring. Okay. And still it works. It totally reads. It gets across the fact that these are epic looking letters with blue and red lights on them, but we can make this even better. So we're going to take this to next level. We're going to fake some 3D lighting that you would not even believe. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a U shape. So a U shape, this is a node that makes a 3D mesh just in the USD system. Okay, so if you want something, it defaults to a capsule, but I think it would make more sense to default to a cube, right? So it's just like adding a cube or a plane or whatever. We're actually going to add a plane just like this. So that's just like a piece of paper, like a 2D plane that's being set in 3D space. And let's just go ahead and add it to this U merge for a second. And let's take this shape and take the size and push the size up a lot. Let's push it up like, I don't know, like 20. Huge. Okay. So now we have a 3D plane that's kind of right behind our text. And so again, if we play this back, because it's a 3D plane, you can see the 3D lights kind of being reflected in that plane, which is kind of cool. If you want something that's a little bit more clean and you want something like that, I mean, you could leave it like that, but we want this to be dark and gritty. You know, it's like a crime drama, right? So we're going to take this U shape and we're actually going to apply some texturing to it. Let's just go ahead and do that now. We're going to use our good old U replace material like this, and we're going to build our own shader. Now, if you're not into 3D, you're probably like, what the heck is a shader? So a shader is, it's a way to describe how a material looks and acts and feels and stuff in 3D space. So you can think of something that's like anything that's made of something, which could be anything, I guess. Like plastic would have its own shader. Metal would have its own shader. Rocks would have its own shader. And so what we're going to do is we want like a road, an asphalt road. And so we're going to turn this plane into a realistic looking asphalt road. How the heck are we going to do that? Well, we can use the magic of textures to do that. I'm going to use a node called U shader, which we were kind of teasing earlier. U shader is freaking amazing, man. This is a way to create your own material right here inside of Fusion. So I can connect this to U replace material and yay, nothing happens. That's because it's at its defaults and it looks exactly the same as what we replaced the material with and even kind of what it's made by. But now we have this set up and we have this little input right here, which is magical. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a shader called U texture. And this is like a special loader node. It's like a special media in sort of. It lets you find a file on your system and then you can bring it into the USD world and it makes it into a texture that you can add into shaders. Okay. So let's find the file that we want. I'm just going to go up here to file name and browse. And I'm going to find something called pebbled asphalt albedo. This is 3D speak. Albedo means just the normal color, like the basic color. All right. You could also call it diffuse. You could call it color. You could call it, I don't know, surface or something. But albedo is our main color. And if I hit open and drag this over here, we can see there's a little preview of what this texture looks like if it were wrapped around a sphere. We can take this and drag this into our U shader. Oh, baby. Look what happens. It pops up here and it says, what the heck is this? Look at this list. Look at this list of things. There are so many different little textures that you can add to a U shader, and those all have special jobs. Okay. So this one's job is to tell it what color in general to be. So we're going to put this into diffuse color. Look what happens. Oh, baby. It looks like it's on the road, sort of. I mean, it looks vaguely like it's on the road. Now, with 3D and 3D lights and stuff is this still kind of looks smooth. If we go back here, look, it sort of looks like it's on glass, and there's no bumpiness to any of these lights. And so if this were still, like, maybe it would look okay, but since it's moving, it really doesn't look okay. It looks like there's some kind of weird, it's like a weird piece of plastic over it. That's just because this plane, the color looks like the road, but it doesn't actually act like it's bumpy at all. So what we can do is we can add more textures. So we'll say U texture, and we'll find another texture, and we can do like a normal. So normal is a way to tell a 3D program what things are bumpy and kind of what the texture, the actual like physical texture of something is. Look at this. When I plug this into normal, look what happens. Boom. Look at how different that is. Isn't that crazy how different that is? Now this is getting a lot better. Look at that. It's like went from kind of sucky to like, it's okay. Now it still sort of looks like it's made out of leather or something. Like it's just not quite right. So what we can do is we can add another texture. And these are all designed together. Like this is all one set of textures that are meant to be treated exactly this way. But if you have that, this is what we would call a PBR texture, right? And so that has all those different textures, or a PBR material. This has all those different textures that you can plug in and tell it to act a certain way, and it comes out looking realistic. So this roughness, let's plug this into roughness. There we go. And that makes that a little better. And we can let's do one more U texture. And this one is AO, which stands for ambient occlusion. We'll plug this into occlusion. Now, how the heck am I supposed to know all that? That's from knowing a little bit about 3D. If you don't understand all of this, it's okay. It's all right. This part is somewhat optional, okay? But now that we have this kind of set up as a shader, we're applying this shader, so this material, this kind of physically based material, onto our U-shape, which is just our plane, okay? And now when the light goes over it, it looks a lot more realistic. Like it actually kind of acts like there's actual bumps there, and it's just a lot better. Now, let's take this U-shape, and I don't think I want to be looking down on the street. I want the street to kind of go off out in the distance, almost like the letters are floating in the air over the street. So let's take this U-shape, take this transform, and we're going to rotate this on the x-axis 90 degrees. And it disappears. Whew. That's because we're looking at it straight on perfectly. So if we take this Y translation and we push it down, look, now it's like we're setting it on the ground. See what we're doing here? Kind of cool. Okay, so let's push this back up something like that. And I'll also take the size of this and push this down so that we have plenty of room here. And now check this out. We kind of have the lights affecting this texture, and you can kind of see the little bumps and everything from the lights. And so it looks pretty cool. The only thing is that it doesn't really look that dramatic. This is kind of just this gray, it almost looks like it's an overcast day with somebody shining red and blue flashlights on it, which is not what we want. So what we can do is some trickiness here. Let's say we want all of these lights to affect the text, but not affect this bottom. There are a few different ways to do that. One way that we can do this, though, is we can just do a separate renderer for this plane. And so let's go ahead and copy this renderer, Control-C, Control-V, and let's make another U-merge. And I'll just say U-merge. And we're going to plug this into its own merge and its own renderer, and then merge that under our current render. So if we were to plug this in, okay, then we can take any of these lights, like our red and blue police lights, and we can plug that into the merge, And look at the beauty that happens. Look, it's just instantly awesome. So we're letting that plane ignore all of the lights except for the blue and red lights. And so now we get something that's looking really cool. All right, now we're getting, and it's the same light that's affecting the text that's affecting this, so it all matches. But we have separate controls. Like we can even take this other merge here and we could turn down the blend or whatever we want to do. We can make this less strong. We can mask it. In fact, I might put a little ellipse mask on this, soften it a little bit, just to give kind of a vignette thing going on. And so now we have a little bit more of that blue and red kind of happening in the middle if we want. See, it's like starting to look really cool, you know, and it's almost like you didn't know we were going there until we got there. So now, essentially in our comp, we only have a couple of layers here. We have our black background and we have the floor and then we have the text on top of that. But we've done a lot in 3D. Now it's time to kind of finish this off and go back into our 2D controls. Now, this is looking pretty cool. Again, we could render it like this. That's always a good place to be. But what would make this look more epic? Well, one thing would be great is to have a little bit of movement to this. So instead of animating all of this stuff, let's go ahead and just make a 3D camera. I know I just said we were going into 2D, but we're not. We're going to do a U camera first. Let's take this U camera and plug this into both the merge with all of our lights and our text, as well as into the merge with our floor. And then let's go ahead and bring this merge up here. And here we can see where the camera is in 3D space, and we can just bring this back. And let's make the focal length a little bit bigger. And now we have this camera that we can control in 3D. There we go. Ooh, did I just lock up? Might have just locked up. Sure did. Sure did. That's too bad. Okay, don't worry. We will, I will fix it in just a minute. Has to crash real quick. Just a minute. Doopy doopy doo. Resolve does not like me today. Okay. Should just be a hot minute. Yeah, F's in chat. F's in chat to pay respects. Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one this happened to, though. Worry not. Worry not. Okay. Almost back. Okay. Let's just head to, let's see if it kept this somewhat recently. Yeah, pretty recently. Okay. Let's see if we can do the camera real quick. Let's just see how that works. Doopy 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 doo. Let's bring that camera back. Let's make the focal length like 16 and then bring this back here so we can actually see stuff. There we go. And we'll plug this into both of those merges and we should be good on there. So now we can animate this camera going back and forth. So let's actually have it start. Let's go to the transform and animate the translation. We'll have it start there, and then we'll have it end maybe back just a touch more. So now this kind of animates back like that. All right, we're doing pretty good. Okay, so anyway, I was saying we would get into 2D tools. Here is just the cheapest way to make something look more epic, and that is add fog, okay? The quickest way to add fog in Fusion, this is such an old trick, is just to grab fast noise, and let's just merge that over. Instant fog. Push up the detail, push up the seethe rate a little bit, and what that will do is kind of animate the fog a little bit. So now we have some fog. I know it doesn't look that great so far, but what we can do is animate it a little bit to go back and forth, which I can either keyframe the center, like this center, or I can just select that and say equals time and do something like time divided by 500 or so. What that'll do is push this from left to right as time goes by. And let's take that fog and let's just mask this fog, just a 2D mask. And we're going to make it really soft. And we're just going to kind of put that there behind our text. Then we're going to make some foreground fog too. And I'll just hold Shift, drag that down. And then let's take this other rectangle and kind of bring that down like that. We want this fog to be a little bit different. So let's see that just a little bit. That's just kind of makes it a different shape. And maybe bring the scale down a little bit. And now we have a bunch of fog. It's a little bit too strong. So let's go ahead and take this merge of this fog down. We'll take the blend down a lot. Take the blend down a lot on this. It's good to be somewhat subtle with the fog. But we have a lot of control over how much fog we can add. And now we have Epic Justice now with fog. Cool, right? All right. Last little bit is you may notice that these blue and red lights, they aren't affecting the fog, which is kind of a dead giveaway. Here's a super crazy trick. Check this out. I'm going to take a transform and a blur. I'm going to take the render from our red and blue lights. Let's just look at this in the transform. So this is just that layer of those lights on the ground. And I'm going to take our transform and I'm going to uncheck size and aspect and push up the Y size a lot. Then we can bring this up like this. What's he doing? Is he lost his mind? Is he crazy? Yeah. I'm just going to make that so it's almost like we're looking down on this. Okay. And this is going to distort this a lot, but we have this blue and red kind of shape. And if I run it through a blur a lot, we can blur it a lot like this. And then we put the blurred black footage over everything. And we set this alpha gain right here. You could also do apply mode screen, but I like to take this alpha gain and just push that down. And look at this beauty. It's a beauty. Okay. We can do that and looks like we have the light affecting the fog, even though it's a big old lie, big old trick. But it looks like there's real lights going through the fog and it looks like it's volumetric, but it's not. It's not. Isn't that sweet? Hope we don't crash again. Oh God. Okay. But yeah, so there's Epic Justice, baby. And yeah, I think looks pretty good. There's obviously more stuff that you can do. In the final version, I had some lens flares and everything, which you can add. If you guys want to see, I mean, you can let me know in the Q&A and we can go over that, but pretty cool. And so this is the kind of stuff you can do in Fusion, and it's just so much fun, man. I love making graphics in Fusion. Whoever says you can't do graphics in Fusion, they just don't know. They just don't know. I think you're muted.
Yeah.
There you go. Good.
There's a little button there.
Yeah.
Now I know. Thanks, Casey. That was awesome.
Hey,
Guys, give it up. That was super cool.
you're not Bimmy.
No, I'm not. But we called an audible, okay?
Okay. Probably best. Probably best.
Awesome. Well, we do have a few questions here
Okay.
that we got from the comments. This one is, what tweak in this title would you make if you wanted the text to slightly reflect a video clip that is playing?
Ooh. There are ways to get reflections for that. I can't tell you right offhand, but there are ways to do that. You can set like the reflection of the material to be higher. And what I might do is make a copy of the text and then set it to be like totally reflective, and then just have another renderer and blend it down so that you can adjust it really easily with like a blend slider. Yeah, there are ways to do that. I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with it to show you real quick right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's cool to know that it's possible, right?
I think so.
Awesome. Okay, next question. What node tools would you recommend knowing when starting out in Fusion?
Oh
Which
man.
nodes are essentials in most cases?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, great
What a
question.
great question. Biggest ones I think would be the essentials are there are four kinds of nodes. There are images, there are effects, there are masks, and there are merges. And so a basic understanding of those things, I think, is what is really, really helpful. I have a lot of free resources that are available with that. We have I'm trying to think of what it's called again, but we have a couple different resources that
We have the
kind
Fusion
of
Survival Guide.
guide you through that. Yeah, the Fusion Survival Guide is
We
definitely
have
a
the
good.
9 nodes.
Yes, 9 nodes. Yes.
9 nodes.
It's
Right?
been a long day. I'm like, what
It
are all
has.
the things
Been
we
a long
make?
3 days, man. You've
Yeah,
been pulling a lot of weight today.
we do have quite a bit. If you have specific questions and stuff, yeah, feel free to reach out or email me. We can
Yeah,
guide
for
you to some specific stuff for sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Dolly's pointing it out. 9 Nodes Workshop. That's a great
Thank
place
you.
to start.
You're the best, Gedaly. Thank you.
Well, sweet man.
Okay, this question from our friend Morgan. Does this process work for other fonts? Can you animate the 3D space? That was 2 questions. I do what I want.
Yes, this works for other fonts. You do have to be careful because some fonts, when you extrude them, they go wackadoo. In fact, I picked this font specifically because it didn't do that.
Okay.
And depending on how much you bevel it and stuff, sometimes it can just have like a spike going, to the moon.
That's fun.
Generally, you want like a sans serif font, one that's more blocky. Those tend to work a little better rather than like a handwritten font or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you animate the 3D space? I don't know what that means.
I think like maybe fly a camera through it. Like, can you maneuver?
Yeah, I mean, and that's essentially what we did here. That might have been asked before I even did that, but yeah, you can animate cameras and lights and everything, and I mean, you can have just a full 3D animated scene if you want to, if you're willing to put in the work, for sure.
Awesome. Can you add Atom Driver to it?
Absolutely. Yeah, let me share my screen. Yeah, we can go ahead and just add Atom Driver if you need. I actually don't know if I have I don't know where the thing went. Where is it? But it's anyway. But yeah, what you do is you just use this as a media. You just use this as a media in,
Sure.
And you can mask them if you want to. I mean, any of that is possible. You can do absolutely anything in Fusion. It's pretty amazing.
Well done. Well done. Okay. Casey, thank you so much for an incredible presentation. Love seeing people who have really put the time and effort into mastering these tools, demonstrate its potential and its power, and that it's all in this neat little package of a software that's really cool. So thank you so much, man.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to just thank everybody who's been involved in ResolveCon, from all the presenters to the sponsors to everyone. Man, this has just been such a cool event. And yeah, we've been so excited to share this with you. And this is the 4th year of ResolveCon. And so it's not possible without you guys. Yeah. And of course, Dan and Sam behind the scenes, everybody give them a hand in the chat, because yeah, things would not run without them. And also Spencer and Gedaly doing the mod thing and helping us out. Gedaly helping with the website and everything. It's
Team
just
effort, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Andy, who does a lot of our adulting stuff and all of the horrible, annoying things and taking care of contracts and everything. She's just pivotal to all of this working as well. She's the cat herder. So big thanks to her, and yeah, all the sponsors and everyone. So yeah, this has been wonderful, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we still have some stuff to give away, and we should do that.
Yeah,
so,
let's do it.
The winners for our last round of giveaways, day 3 ResolveCon, for a pack from Wipp Templates. Congratulations to Marcelo Lewin.
Oh
Congratulations.
yeah. Awesome.
For the $100 Motion VFX voucher, Jürgen Dietl.
Nice.
70% sure on that one. Okay. Action VFX voucher for $400 at the Action VFX website. Peter Edwards. Congratulations.
Awesome. Congratulations, Peter.
For a Resolve micro panel, Larry Dixon.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Good job.
And the big one, guys.
The big one.
A Pixis camera, new camera from BMD, Brody Hansen.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Brody. That's amazing.
Thank you again so much, Blackmagic Design, for making this software, making the ResolveCon possible. Our wonderful sponsors. Let's thank them one more time. DV Resolve, Action VFX, Motion VFX, Nobe Omniscope, Logic Keyboards, and Wipp Templates. ResolveCon wouldn't happen without your help and support. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, that's it. Go home now.
That's all. Yeah.
Hey, for those of you in the VIP, you will be getting an email from me in just a little bit with details on how to join that. Those of you who still want to join the VIP, they're still available. There's a link in the description. But for some of you, we will see you tomorrow. And for everybody else, happy trails. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.